Welcome, welcome. If you can hear me, please give me a thumbs up or a love emoji so that I know we are together and you're ready for today's session. Welcome. Let me just say hi. Hi to Judith. Hi, Judith. Virginia, Matthews. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Tabitha. Thank you, Anthony, Abdul, Ra, um, Gwendolyn. Hi. Shadrach, Mwai. Hello. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, welcome, everyone. All right, so we are good to go. April 1st, 2023. I took a leap of faith and hosted my first ever LinkedIn audio event. I remember this day like it was yesterday. A total of 15 people joined the live. It was exhilarating. Each time I press the start button of my scheduled live event here on LinkedIn, I feel alive and excited to connect with my amazing audience. This week, I want my name to appear in the books of history as I host the first ever 6-day audio event series dubbed the Global LinkedIn Summit. 22 speakers, 6 countries, 6 workshops, 1 agenda. How to thrive in your career and business today. Leaders, professionals, and creators, welcome to the first edition of the Global LinkedIn Summit 2024. I am your host, Miss Muthoni Njoroge, also known as the LinkedIn Lioness. I'm a personal branding and LinkedIn expert with a passion of transforming leaders' image by building a patronized personal brand to be visible and attract lucrative opportunities. I'm delighted to share that I'm holding a powerful LinkedIn monetization masterclass on the 13th of July 2024 from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. East African Time. If you have been looking to monetize your expertise on LinkedIn, then this masterclass is specially designed for you. In this masterclass, you will learn how to position your personal brand to attract your ideal clients and paid opportunities, how to curate an irresistible signature offer for your audience, how to generate leads, and the best conversion tactics. Simply click the link below my headline to sign up for this masterclass. The link is called Monetize Your LinkedIn Today. Today, the 24th of June 2024, marks day one of the Global LinkedIn Summit. Welcome to the Communications Workshop, where we shall discuss how to better our communication skills and strategies in order to thrive in our careers and businesses. With utmost pleasure, allow me to introduce our esteemed speakers for tonight. We have Glory Ntinyari from Kenya, a communication and PR strategist. Hello, Glory. Welcome to today's workshop. How are you?
Hi, Miss Modoni. I'm very excited. Thank you for such a warm introduction, and I look forward to learning from my colleagues here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thank you, Glory. Second speaker is Chris Wangalwa from Kenya, Director at Africa Strategic Communication Hub. Hello, Chris. Welcome to today's workshop. How are you?
Hello, Miss Muthoni. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. And I'm very excited to be here. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. Finally, we have Cynthia Mwangi from Kenya, a PR and communications expert. Hello, Cynthia. Welcome to today's workshop. How are you?
I'm very fine. Thank you, Ms. Muthoni. I appreciate it. And thank you very much for having me. Hi to my fellow panelists, Gloria and Chris. It's a pleasure to be here.
Awesome. Thank you, Cynthia. Oh, and by the way, ladies and gentlemen, I am recording these sessions from today till tomorrow and sorry, till Saturday. And definitely will be sharing in my YouTube channel and I'll share more details as we go. All right. So we shall begin the discussion with Glory Ntinyari. So Glory, how can professionals leverage communication skills to advance their careers?
Thank you, Miss Modoni, for that. I think first, by understanding that communication is for everyone, no matter which industry, no matter which sector, no matter what you're doing, communication skills are essential everywhere. So, by first understanding that and knowing that by honing those skills, you will better yourself in every sector that you might be in every business activity, in every relationship that you form, in negotiations. So communication is essential in all of that. It's the way you persuade your peers to do an engagement. It's the way you articulate yourself, the way as a leader you resolve conflicts, for example, in departments. It's the way you assess whether a client has been satisfied and seeking feedback. So, first, by understanding that our every interaction, we interact through communicating and aiming to improve those skills every day. So, how to leverage communication to be better in what you do is first, I think most of us fall victims of just listening so that we can respond. For example, in our workplaces, we sometimes feel like we are being attacked when we are being given feedback. And one of the things that we should aim to do in our businesses, in our work environment, is actively listening so that we first understand what is being communicated and we also understand the perspectives that are being offered by the other person. This will help us to build rapport and build better relationships. We can also leverage communication by observation, even observing social cues, observing someone's emotional state by how they are appearing, their nonverbals. And another thing is how we also communicate can be enhanced through, for example, eye contact and other body facial expressions like postures. As I have mentioned, we can also seek feedback, whether it's clients, whether it's colleagues. We can actively seek feedback and get to know our areas that we need improvement. So I think, Ms. Mudhoni, first we can leverage communication by understanding that we need to hone those skills and then now actively working to improve them by seeking continuous feedback.
Awesome. So, Glory, what I'm getting from you definitely is communication is essential in everything we do. Yeah, at the workplace, even in our social interactions. All right. So, what are the key components of effective workplace communication?
Oh, sorry about that. I did not unmute myself. Ms. Mudhoni, could you come again?
Sure thing, no worries. What are the key components of effective workplace communication?
So, for there to be effective communication, I think there needs to be a combination of several factors. For example, clarity in the way communication is given for someone to understand, for example, whether it's from managers to the people who are being supervised, for that communication to be understood, I think there must be clarity. So the leaders who are here, please aim to communicate with a lot of clarity. For example, when setting deadlines, communicate that so clearly so that there is no ambiguity. And this also applies to the people who are in businesses. I think I had shared also in my LinkedIn post the way when I was getting in January, when I was getting into freelancing, I got into a trap where I was not communicating so well that my services are not for free, apart from the clarity call. And I got into a trap of doing 1 hour clarity calls that were, someone assumed that they were free. But you see, that was a mistake on my end, because at the beginning I had not communicated that, I charge for these and these services, I charge for my time. So aim for clarity, whether you're in business or in any organization, and especially if you're a leader. Another thing, as I had mentioned, another combination of factors. Another factor is actively listening. Again, we listen to respond, and we should be listening to understand, so that we can understand other person's perspective. Another factor that needs to be put into consideration, Ms. Muthoni, is cultural awareness. For example, if I can give an example of Kenyans and Nigerians, you'll see Nigerians put a lot of emphasis on respect, or perceived respect, even in verbal communication. And Kenyans, even if you're addressing your senior, and you might be respectful but not call them madam or sir or ma'am, but Nigerians put a lot of emphasis on that. So just being culturally aware that some people will demand certain things, and just being responsive, not faking it, but just being responsive to those cultural sensitivities, I think it can greatly improve our communication. Yeah, Ms. Muthoni, those are the factors that come to mind.
What has actually stood out for me is that for communication to be understood, there must be clarity in order to avoid ambiguity. Great insights, Gloria. Now, can you share a strategy for handling difficult conversations at work? I'm talking of even when you're about to fire someone, like for HR, yeah, or just that serious conversation that is very difficult to have with an employee or a subordinate.
Yeah, Miss Modoni, for me, one of those hard conversations that have to happen that comes to mind is performance reviews. Sometimes performance reviews are not the best, conversations, because work sometimes feels like a personal attack, especially when it's being said that you did not deliver on this, you did not deliver on this. It can feel like a personal attack. And I think this is something I've also felt, or we can say we've also felt from one way or the other, because even when you're asking for feedback, you're hoping that the feedback will be positive. So we can take that quite personally. But one of the things that we need to understand is we cannot avoid conflict. It's just, you know, um, aiming for communication to be as sober as it can be, for example, and hoping uh, that you communicate factual information rather than attacking, someone's character. So let me just get direct to the question. One way that we can handle difficult conversation is first by knowing that they need to happen. We don't have to be conflict averse, because I've also, again, using myself as an example, I've fallen into trap of this, of avoiding conflict so much. But conflict cannot be you cannot avoid conflict. You have to face. As long as you're interacting with people, conflict will always be there. So in difficult conversations, I think it's very crucial to prepare, understand the issues, and gather the information necessary, and then have empathy in communication. I think most of the effective managers, or the managers that I see succeeding, are the managers that handle every conversation with a lot of empathy, understanding that an employee, for example, an employee glory doesn't come just as glory. Glory comes with a background of, she's a firstborn daughter, she has these she has responsibilities, she's a sister to these other people, so Glory doesn't just show up as Glory and expect her to function like a machine. Glory has emotions. When she wakes up in the morning, work probably is not the first thing that she thinks about. So just handling those people with a lot of empathy and sometimes understanding that when someone probably comes late, they are not just showing up late just because they have disregard of your authority or something. It's probably something they were taking care of. So this can happen, for example, in performance reviews. Understanding, having empathy to have an open conversation of asking, please help me understand why this and this was not met, because this person might, as I've said, it might not be a total disregard of your authority. It might be just that we humans sometimes face a lot of difficulties, and it might be that. So have an understanding that this person, they have another whole life apart from that job, and they might be facing some other issues. So in summary, have empathy and then state clearly the issue with facts or behavior rather than personal attributes. Rather than Glory, you are always late. You state the actual issue that happened, that the team did not perform well this quarter because Glory, you did this and this and this. Your submissions were late, and this affected the team in this and this area. That way, by stating the factors rather than attacking me, I'll not feel attacked. Yeah. And again, listening, I've said this. You know, listening to having the capacity to listen to the other person's perspective without interrupting. As I've said, when while still showing empathy, help me understand the challenges that you faced in this and this that might be contributing to the delay of this. So by that, you have an open communication, and then be collaborative in this coming up with the solutions of that issue. Brainstorm together and then agree on the action steps and then follow up from there. I think those are some of the tips that I can offer for having difficult conversation. But most importantly for me, I think what lacks mostly is empathy. Thank you, Miss Modoni.
Great insights, Glory. A notable point that I've actually noted is that we cannot avoid conflict, so we must aim for sober conversations by not attacking someone's character. I know definitely we have been a victim of, being our characters being assassinated by our bosses or just supervisors in one place or the other, right? So definitely, I totally agree with you in that. And another point that has stood out for me is empathy. We really need to empathize. I have been in the communications sector as well, and empathy is one stronghold that you must actually have and actually embrace. But the thing is, a lot of sectors think that empathy is just for the guys in customer service and guys in in communications. But empathy is all round, especially if you are a leader. So thank you, Glory, for that. All right, moving on. How important is clarity in client communications, and how can it be achieved?
I think it's super important, Miss Modoni, especially when there are certain expectations and deadlines that are in place. I think when there is no clarity, it's just a setup for failure, or failure just waiting to happen, or someone's expectations that will be unmet. So clarity is very important. It prevents misunderstandings, about costs, like the example I've just shared, or about deadlines. It also, creates trust. For example, when you deliver something on time because a deadline was set, it enhances that trust and creates efficiency in delivery and in processes, Ms. Mudoni.
All right. Now, what emerging communication trends should professionals be aware of?
So post COVID, I think everyone came to understand the how important hybrid and remote work was, because I think we've all participated in working offline or online, or having an hybrid mode of working. So that is one that I will not go super into. But another key and emerging trend that is coming up is AI and automation. For example, when you're receiving those marketing emails, I think some of us have subscribed to those marketing emails, and it comes with a super personalized note, high glory, so and so. It's a marketing email, but it's very personalized, and you feel like this person is actually talking to you. So I think that's one of the things that's another trend that is coming up, and especially in the Kenyan market, I think we should adopt, because especially for someone who is sending bulk SMS, there needs to be an element of personalization. Yeah, so another thing is collaborative tools. I think we've all used these at one point or the other. These tools can include, Google Workspaces. Another trend is video communication and content. I think we've all seen, especially being social media consumers, that we prefer video content. For example, the tutorials. When there's a video tutorial explaining something, you don't even have to take time reading a poster. So I think that's another trend. Another trend in communication is data-driven communication, where people are now using analytics to explain why should we use this and not this. Why are more people coming to LinkedIn? Why are more people going on X? So there's a trend of data driven communication. And also website traffic, website traffic tracking the traffic on your website to tailor the content that is being consumed more. So that's another trend. And as I conclude, there's also a lot of emphasis on soft skills. I think being on LinkedIn, we've seen a lot of posts, people talking about soft skills, people talking about emotional intelligence, people speaking about empathy, listening. These are all soft skills that are super, super important, and they are also emerging. So I think there is a lot of need for everyone to, especially to improve not just the public speaking, the written or the verbatim. There is also need to improve yourself on these soft skills, the so-called soft skills like emotional intelligence. Yeah, there is also a lot of, Miss Muthoni, there is a lot of there's another trend, or a major emphasis on security and privacy. I think we've all seen that. There's actually a notice that was issued in Kenya by Office of the Data Protection Commission, that when you're taking photographs, or whether you'll use those photographs for an organization, make sure you get consent. And actually there was a graduation, I don't remember which university, that a student's image was used without their consent, and they sued, and they were awarded compensation by the court. So there's a lot of emphasis on security and privacy. So it's good to be aware of these issues, and to focus on privacy even as we are communicating and as we are engaging online. Because, for example, in the gig economy, some clients may prefer that you don't broadcast that you're working for them. So just be aware, seek consent, and have an understanding that some people prefer, their lives to be private. Yeah, so Miss Muthoni, that's it from me.
Amazing, amazing. Ladies and gentlemen, can I get a round of applause for Glory? That was really, really insightful. And I can definitely agree in regards to consent, that's quite new. I mean, right now you can't even just post anyone, right? Even if you're trying to spotlight, you need to actually ask for consent, right? So thank you so much for that, Glory. I also needed to highlight something, and now this is the thing about multitasking. I think I've just I've just forgotten. But definitely when it comes to mind, I'll definitely add it up. So I hope you guys are actually writing this note because it's really, really good. All right, let's get into a bit of leadership and business communication. And this session, Chris is going to lead us. So, Chris, what role does digital communication play in modern business strategies?
Hello once again. Yes, what role does digital communication do in modern business? First of all, we have to appreciate where we have come from. We must realize that before digital, there was only print and TV and radio and physical meetings. And before TV and radio, there was only print. So then a lot of things in the manner in which they were operating was that, first of all, you had to, when there was only print and TV and radio, you had to really rely on earned media, that you would come up with whatever it is message you want to communicate, and somebody would determine the fate of that content. Yeah. However, so you'd either do that or you'd advertise. You would force it by advertising. So then you literally secure your chances of getting coverage. And now there's digital, which basically we are speaking about owned media, and here you have all the autonomy to do whatever it is you want to do with your content and your business, and I mean, to grow your business. So a lot of people are creating content. And in this case, it's not just about creating content anymore. It is about content that has substance. To me, that is now the bigger thing. Everybody is creating content. How different is everybody, 10 people, 20 people, 100 people are in the same industry. What makes me different from you? So even as we create all these things and we exist and we're in the same industry, we now have different products, and now how do I communicate my products and services using digital platforms? How do I engage my employees using digital platforms? And here you've seen people meeting from across the globe, whereas they would use DHLs to be able to access each other. People are having to make calls far and away to access each other and to make life move so fast. So yes, there is a lot of what now digital has brought into, but number one is the substance of what you are communicating using those digital platforms. Then there is the creativity that comes with communicating the substance, because now you'll see somebody is communicating, but they're just flat. So you have nice things to say, but you're flat. There is nice things to say, but you don't even know they are nice. I like to give an example of an institution I supported that had very, very good amenities, but nobody ever knew about them, and people would talk negative things about them, and they had nothing to share, and they just accepted that was their fate. But one day when I walked into that organization and just took a tour of the organization and saw all the things they were doing, and I just said, this is going to be your turnaround. Yeah. So you'd give the people what they want to do, what I like to call mystery. The mystery things, the unique things, the valuable things that everybody wants to consume. And only once you do that, which again, the other platforms that were there before digital would not do for you. Yeah. It has to be out of the ordinary. It helps you to work with feedback. So again, I'll have to use a lot of comparisons. You go back to traditional media, for instance, or traditional modes of communication, and there was very, very little feedback to gather and analysis to be picked. If you're going to do physical analysis, the best you can do is understand who is in the audience. So that is just demographics, not so much of psychographics. Who is in the audience, and maybe you'll be monitoring them live. So as you're doing whatever it is, your engagement, you are monitoring them live to gauge whether they are tired or they are still energetic. And so you have to do some activities you have to change some tactics to keep them alive. But in the case of digital, you now have both quantitative and qualitative feedback, which you sometimes are monitoring real time. You're able to monitor your business and the sentiments that come in real time, and whether somebody is happy with what you're doing or not, and how you react to that, how you mitigate crises. There's a lot that comes with digital in terms of monitoring and evaluation, real time, mid-term, long term, short term. Then, of course, there's project management. You are able to have dashboards that you see where things are, who is doing what. You're able to make approvals. You're able to flag off things. I think that would be a good summary, Ms. Mudhoni.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Chris. A notable point definitely has to be content that has substance is what sets a business apart, and creativity that comes with communicating the substance. Amazing insights there. So, secondly, how does communication style impact leadership effectiveness?
Okay, I would like to restrict this question to two areas. One, I would like to perhaps approach it from an organizational communication. I would like to call it internal communication, where it is communication within the business. And then I would like to also restrict it to the perspective of an introvert. So, how would an introvert communicate in a way that their way of communication is impactful? And so that would then lead to talking less and acting more, which means that an introvert would like to empower people to do what they are not able to do, or that just means tapping into specializations. If somebody is very good in whatever it is within the organization, let them push it and do the best there is. You have to empower, to allow other people to shine. You have to allow other people to do what it is they're very, very good at, and nobody is better than them. I would like to summarize that into some servant leadership. But most importantly, there is one thing I like to call responsive communication. And in this case, we're just talking about action-oriented communication, where within an organization, there's three, let me call them processes, where we are doing active listening. And the communication that we do is synthesize and inform the leadership, and the leadership proceeds to take the action. So at the end of the day, it is not so much about charisma that we like to talk about, or having a type of dressing and all that, which are very, very important. But what happens to introverts, for instance? And that is why I prefer to talk about introverts who would like to lock themselves in a room and still be able to deliver. And that, to me, becomes a very, very important area that helps with dignified communication, where you just be able to make people see the actions. Talk less, act more. To me, that would be the best and the most impactful leadership. And it has to marry with innovation. And innovation, a lot of people have definitely grappled with the idea of innovation, because if it is, maybe they confuse invention with innovation, but it could be an adjustment to a process within the value chain. It could be an introduction of a new product or service that is of value to an entire generation, or the stakeholders for that matter. And that is effective leadership, because there is growth, there is progress. That is another way of looking at communication. In fact, it is the only way of looking at communication, because if people are satisfied, there is no better way to define communication. Thank you.
Great insights there, but I thought you were about to attack what I normally speak on, and that is charisma and dressing. But you saved yourself at the end. But no worries. That's just by the way. But I really like your point on effective leadership, that there must be growth and development, and definitely communication does play a part. All right. Now, how can businesses measure the effectiveness of their communication strategies?
All right, so that has to do a lot of with a lot of has to do with a lot of research, which informs the state of things. So you want to measure your effectiveness, you have to do a lot of research. Definitely, you are always, if you want to measure, you have to set an objective. You have to have a goal. You have to have that goal has to be pegged on a vision. That vision has to be unrealistic. It is not achievable. It is utopian. And for you to be able to get there, you have to do your medium terms, and you keep chasing that vision. So you set timelines and all that, and that means that you have to have stuff that enables you to get to that level, and that means that you have to do your analysis, whether it's going to be SWOT or whether it's going to be pastel. So you're going to do your internal analysis and external analysis. What is it you need to be able to help achieve your goals and objectives? Yes, and that means there is baselines. Okay, so if there is a baseline, where are you? This is where in communication we always have to assess where we are. Once we assess where we are, which we can call it many things, we can call it research, we can call it assessment, we can call it listening, we are able to now inform what we want to achieve and how what amount of resources we can put in to be able to get to where we want to go. Once we've done that, then we do the routine monitoring, even as we monitor at the end, what we call evaluation. So there is the monitoring, and then there is the learning, and then there is the evaluation. And at the end of the day, you also have to do your analysis in terms of the channels you're using. So am I measuring the effectiveness of my message? Yes. Am I measuring the effectiveness of my message through channel A and B and C? Why this channel and and why not? Why did Miss Mudhoni, for instance, hold this event on LinkedIn and not Facebook or Instagram or YouTube? So that is the assessment that comes into the enablers of being able to measure effectively, what we call noise. So depending on how you approach everything, it goes into the process of, yes, this is what I want to achieve. This is the message I will be conveying. This is the channel I will be using and not this one or all of these ones. This is the reason why I am using this. And the reason is because my stakeholder is at point A and not point D. And my stakeholder is sometimes at point D and point A and point C. That is why I am using channel A and C and D. And I have to get to them, and I have to get feedback from each of those. And at the end of the day, the feedback has to be one that makes me improve on ways of giving them better experience. Yeah. So, and you have to also analyze whether there is noise, while still analyzing your competition, which is, let's say, pastel. What for instance, in this case, where we in Kenya, for those who are not in Kenya, currently in Kenya, we are dealing with the finance bill, and the finance bill is perhaps affecting some people who are in the business, because the regulations are going to affect certain things. So how do you survive through that against the competition? For instance, what is the environment saying? That is how to measure, combining the SWOT and the pastel, and being able to just work around the beacons of communication process. Thank you, Ms. Mudhoni.
Great insights, Chris. Definitely. Emphasis on you need to measure effectively the channel you will use. And majority of businesses I actually see they are like on all social media platforms. But let's say they want to do a live, right? And sometimes going on all social media may not be effective, unlike when you go to one that you actually have dominated, right? In terms of your audience, in terms of the numbers as well, your analytics. So, yes, thank you for that. Moving on, can you discuss the impact of communication technologies on business growth?
Yes, you have to go back to you have to go back to the definition of growth. So what is growth? From a business perspective, definitely you are talking about competitive advantage. You are growing in leaps and bounds to the extent that you have competitors and you are ahead of them. Growth also means that you are expanding. You are growing day by day in terms of all aspects that you can think of in a business. It also means that you are innovating. So you cannot be talking about growth if you are not innovating. You could expand as much as you can, but you are not innovating. And if you're not innovating, you are headed nowhere. One of the quotes one of the best advices I've got from one of the gurus in communication was that, and I'm embarrassed to say this because I've defied it, was do not expand. Do not expand, because I have employed people to the tune of 70 plus, and I still sold my company and I still struggled. So at the end of the day, it is the ability to innovate and to stay ahead, which means it is not so much about expansion if certain things are not taken care of, if innovation and competitive advantage are not taken care of.